And in today's video I have another boombox. This time it's a Hitachi. What model is this thing? It is a TRK-W555AU. And it's not in the best condition. You can see the batteries have leaked. Not sure if this thing's going to be any good at all. And I didn't really want to buy the thing at all. It's missing a few knobs. I think, yeah, one switch is broken off. Paid a little bit more than I wanted to, but the reason I bought this is, as you can see, auto reverse and just a standard deck. But this should have a couple of interesting Tanashin mechanisms in it. A couple of the ones you don't see very often. I can't actually remember which type they were. I'll have to open up and have a look again to remind myself. But I know, according to the manual for this model, it should have a pair of Tanashin mechs. Other than that, I don't know much about this. I guess it's somewhere in the mid-80s or somewhere around there. Stereo sound, well, of course it's got stereo sound. One of the speakers is a bit bent in. There was some dusty stuff falling out of it. Some corrosion on the so I guess heatsink there, a bit of aluminium. The guy did actually tell me on this it was originally for sale as a working unit, and supposedly it doesn't actually work. What a surprise on eBay. He sent me a photo showing that the battery terminal's all corroded, and I'm hoping that it hasn't destroyed the inside of it. It's destroyed the battery terminals though. There's a radio antenna rod just inside there. The fact it's eating the screws on the speaker outlets is not a good sign. But it may be repairable, and if it's not, I've got a couple of mechs cheaper than what I'll probably get them otherwise. And yeah, that's interesting that the actual antenna's corroded. I think there's a piece broken out there, and there does seem to be some battery stuff up on the top here, which is weird. Normally they're sitting in this sort of position and they just leak downwards, but who knows. But I can hear a lot of rattling stuff inside there, so I don't have a lot of hope. And I think also on these speakers there should have been a some sort of foam. Looks like there was originally a foam thing over it to make them look like square speakers. I think you can see it more on this dented side in the right light. You can see the tattered remains of it. Yeah, you can see it stuck to the cross bit there. Very moth-eaten kind of look to it, and some of the silver paint's gone. It's got some sort of plastic stuff stuck to it. I'm not sure what that is, but it looks like that will rub off. So yeah, it's nothing major, like a bit of Glad wrap or something. So we'll take it to bits and have a look. But like I say, the main thing on this one is just I'm interested in having a look at these decks, because I haven't seen them in the flesh, these ones. I don't think. I've only seen the exploded view in manuals. Certainly haven't seen them in the flesh. Some of them I've managed to find pictures of, the various Tanashin types. Does not want to come apart even with the clip out. Yeah, just tight. It's got a bit of rusty stuff on there from the batteries. And I think this one's going to have to go outside and have all the stuff shaken out of it. Assuming we can even get this thing apart. I mean, it is possible that eBay actually put this away for ages and it sat there and it eroded, the batteries corroded on their own or something. He may or not have realised there was some in there. So that could be the reason for finding out later that this thing is not in such good condition. It was reasonably expensive, the original price, so maybe just no one was interested in it, and it sat there for years. I did get him to give me a decent discount on it. Still paid more than I probably should have with postage. But these things don't come up that often, and I want to have a look at one of these things. Is there a screw down there? There's got to be, hasn't there? Maybe not. Those speaker ones are going to be a bit of a mess. I can actually see the speaker springs are a bit greenish. But that came out easy enough. This one's not going to be so good. But if we can bite into it, which we can't. So that's a job for the big side cutters if they don't just break it off. Oh yeah, it's crunching up a bit. It's starting to turn. Oh my god. Oh, I think the head just snapped off with a bit of the shaft. That'll do. At least it's out of the way. And is there another one down? I don't think there's anything down there. What other screws we got? That's the antenna. Oh, there's one there. That may actually be, surely it doesn't just have two, or is there another one in the middle? No, I can't see. Oh, maybe I've got to lift the handle up. That's a surprisingly small number of screws, but it's coming loose. If we eject, might help a lot. There's still one. It's rocking around like there's one right behind that one touch dubbing switch. So there must be one. Oh, there's one down in there. I can't even see it because it's so rusted. Oh God, I hope that's not as badly done as the other one, because we'll be in real trouble then. Have to drill it out or something. I'm putting a lot of force into that, which could risk breaking something on the front, but it's coming. And it's loose, I think, but it's going to come out is another thing. Oh, and that just falls off. Well, one of those switches has fallen off as well. Speaking of falling off, bit of grotty stuff in there that's going to have to be chucked in the bin, and we've got rust on this bracket. So it's been in a pretty poor way, but there's not a lot of stuff at the bottom of there, so that's a good sign. When you see like brown stuff all on the bottom panel and stuff, then you know you're in real trouble. Now, oh, that's actually busted off, whatever it's. What is it? Oh, the whole front of the switch has fallen off. Oh, that ain't too good. What is that switch? It is, the function, the CD tape radio line in. Oh, that's going to be a problem then. We're not going to get too much sound out of it by the look of it. Oh yeah, look at this mechanism. What a weirdo. I'll just shake the dirt out of it. And something else fell out of it. Oh, the radio board. Yeah, wow, I've definitely not. Well, that's just a TN21 standard. Oh, it doesn't press play. That's not a good sign. Why is that jammed, I wonder? Or is it a standard? Maybe it's not a standard one, but it looks like a standard TN21. And this, I forgot which mech this is. If it is even a Tanashin in this one, it should be, but yeah, it must be a soft touch type. Oh, now I can't stop it. I hope it is after all this. Let's have a look what we got here. At least that end of things isn't all corroded or anything, which you'd hope the top part wouldn't be. I'll have to get a bit of screwdriver, I think. Don't need the long one for that. Ooh, we've got a little bit of extra mechanism here. Oh, we've got a gear here, which is probably part of this extra mechanism. So there's so many varieties of these things. But I think this did say it had possibly up to two decks that are slightly different or something. Because I think I was expecting to get two mechs in this one that I haven't seen before. Well, not exactly before. But I can't remember what the numbers are. I'll have to go and look them up now that I've actually seen them again. I would have the menu. Oh my god, there's rust on the motor where it's come through from the battery terminal just behind it. The belt is broke, I think. Well, at least it's not goo. So this thing's gonna be a mess. But I was expecting that. It's just a shame I had to get one in poor condition, but I wasn't intending to use the thing anyway. It's just going to be, might not even be a very good display piece, but it looks like it's in good enough condition to be a display unit. What's the radio like? Ooh, we've got a few drips on the board. So this one could be a bit of a disaster, and in fact it's, ooh, now I've just broken another switch off. Oh no, it's just fallen off, that's alright. I wonder if, yeah, this other switch here might be possible to change for the function switch. That one, depending if they got the same number of contacts, which they probably won't. And this bottom board may be in poor condition. We'll have to have a look and see. So I'm not sure if this will be a restoration or a resurrection, or maybe not even that much. It may not even be resurrectable. A lot of dirt in the controls and stuff. That board just comes off nicely, and yeah, a little bit of corrosion even on that by the look of it. That thing, I think, is just a little bit of red. I don't even know what it is exactly. It's like a fake leather or something, that stuff. But an insulating sort of thing. Yeah, joints corroded. So weirdly these batteries almost look like one exploded and splattered bits everywhere, so that's a bit odd. We took the speaker bits out. I bet the transformer's screwed down into it. That'll be what it is. And we may have to take this bit out, I think, to even get... Does that just lift up? Oh yeah, looks like it does. So it's going to be a bit of a mess. This thing really, I think, is going to be a pull everything out of the case, clean the case as best as I can of all the battery acid, and clean all the boards and stuff, and work out whether we can actually get anything out of it from there. I mean, that function switch that's stuffed I can probably bypass if need be, but it could be a lot of contacts to bypass is the problem, just to get in one particular mode. But I guess we'll find out. Could be an interesting thing to look at. Or like I say, maybe one of those others will fit. God, I can see a couple of electrolytic capacitors down the front of this bottom board that are all corroded and horrible looking. Looks like it's actually soaked up into the aluminium, so this thing's been sitting around like this for a while, I think. Maybe I should have waited for a better version to turn up. But part of my idea is to try and collect a few of these decks outside of the machines. If you've got a good machine, you don't really want to trash it just for the tape deck. I think the RCA sockets may be screwed in. Yeah, they're screwed in on the back. Whereas if the machine's a bit of a wreck, you don't actually mind using it for parts and pinching the mechanisms out of it once and for all. Oh, that board comes out without the transformer. Oh well, I didn't need to undo the transformer, I don't think, but it's all going to have to come out anyway. What have we got? Some metal. Oh, is that the record switch? Oh yeah, it is. The record switch is on the bottom board, and there's all this metal stuff which is now falling out. Great big rusty bar there. Hope I can remember how that went. There's another one that pivots there, so it must unclip in the middle here. Oh, and then there's another piece. God. Oh, and that's very corroded as well, right near the batteries. Does this unplug somehow? Surely some of this stuff unplugs. Or not. I can unplug the batteries. I think we might have to cut some cable ties here. Or try and get that power board out. What's holding the power board in? Oh, I can see green looking trim pots. We've got the antenna connector. Looks like the tuner board comes out. So that's nice and simple. Unpluggable, just an antenna in the corner, and that little bit of corrosion-y sort of stuff on the switches. Yeah, a few dots of, and even some of these other bits. This is going to need a good clean up if I'm going to try and resurrect it. Looks like the tape decks both unplug, hopefully. At least the heads do. From the bottom board, and then the motors go up in all this mess. But one of them will be this little direction switch, I guess. Oh no, that goes back to the main board. I'll cut this cable tie on this white plastic thing, because I think we kind of need to separate everything. What are they? Some sort of mode switches for the tape decks or something. Now I've got a second cable tie, and that hopefully gets this little connector from the power board, comes to the front near the power switch, not surprising, and looks like our tape decks and stuff unplug over just near the power transformer. Excellent. So I've got a couple of decks loose. Yeah, interesting little mech, but I'm pretty sure that is one of the Tanashins. But I'll go and check on that. But yeah, two idlers, this sort of almost A-shaped frame in the middle. Fixed auto reverse head, should have a switch somewhere to switch that. I thought it was down, it depends on the mech, and these got these weird die cast bits around the capstans. Oh, there's a switch here. So that'd be the head switch. So you can see the audio connection, head in, head out. And I'm not sure, maybe what else would it switch? Why would it have like power connections or something. Got a solenoid. Obviously being an auto reverse, semi sort of soft touch, couple of big gears down there. And I think the capstan belt's still intact. Yeah, it's the one that comes from the motor. Steel capstans with plastic pulleys. There's still going to be quite a bit of a mess to clean up. Well, that one is. This one's not too bad. A little bit of rust on the motor. Have I got a date? No, it's just an SHW2L. That used to be a fairly common motor, but no, it's an SHW2L as well. So does this now come out without the transformer coming out? Close, something's holding it though. Oh, that's holding it. I feel like a wire pulling it. Oh, there is a wire pulling on us here. There's some sort of, oh, that's a bit of aluminium on the bottom, I guess. Oh, it's a piece of steel, it turns out. Or is it oh, maybe it is aluminium. It's just some sort of shielding. I thought it was a heatsink or something. What kind of disaster have we got here? The underside actually looks close to mint. A little bit of corrosion in the back corner. A little bit along here. That shouldn't matter, big tracks anyway. Ugh, some horrible brown mark there. Yeah, speaker connection's not very good. That BA chip doesn't look the best on its pins. Some rusty resistors and diodes there. Corroded trim pots, which is never good because trim pots go open circuit very easily. That capacitor is, yeah, I think one lead's here broken off. This one's all bulged up like the aluminium's gone. That's the switch that's shot. I wonder if it's still usable in any way. It's just the lever part I think that's broken. Oh yeah, something's moving up and down. I don't know quite how this works, but oops, there's a little metal part out of it. But that may still, well, now that I've pushed it in, oh, there's a ball bearing there. Problem is, once you push it in, oh no, I can move it back out. Oh, you never know, with a bit of contact cleaner might work again. There's our record playback switch. Yeah, corrosion on this. That's probably the erase coil or something. It says bias there. I should say erase and bias coil. And what do we got? We've got an amp chip there. Probably a decent one on this one. That's an AN, is it? Matsushita. AN7147 maybe? Oh, I've tidied up everything. Now I can't find my magnifier. Yes, oh, 7147 must be, looks like a 7J because of the dust on it. AN7147. I think the pins, there's a lot of rusty little spots on it, but I think the pins are okay on that, so that's not corroded. Now where's that other switch I saw on the radio board, I guess? Oh, two switches on the radio board. Guess there's no chance of them being the same number of pins. It was close, but it looks shorter. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think that's going to be more than 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of course. Oh, well, worth a look. And oh yeah, so the power sockets are screwed on from the inside. That's what I was holding that in. This thing pretty much wants hosing down, I think, and scrubbing out or cartering or something just to blast all the muck out of it. Because it's going to need all new battery terminals and stuff if you're ever going to get that going again. But we're a long way from that point anyway. This is really a parts box at best, I think. I think that piece of switch can probably go in the bin. Decent transformer, so this is probably going to be quite a loud unit, I would think. Yeah, I think all that is pretty safe to use. A little bit of rust on the steel, but we don't care about that. Double check the transformer underneath, looks pretty mint. Looks like it's got a thermal fuse maybe, is that the power side? As in the 240 volts in, it is, so these do have a thermal fuse. So if you ever get an open circuit transformer, you can try putting another one in there and chances are it'll probably work again. Obviously being aware that if it has a fault in it, it'll start cooking up the windings again or whatever, but that's why you put another one in there really. That must have gone like that. So it slots over that bit, if you can get it to, if it wasn't all bendy. So I think it's pretty safe to give these a clean up. Maybe replace a few caps. Check a few for sure, but those two front ones, they probably don't matter that much, but then you wouldn't know. I think I do have a manual for this. Is how I found that it had the mechs. So some of these resistors, they at least want measuring, and you know, if you're going to restore it, you definitely replace any of these corroded diodes, anything with rusty legs on it. All these trim pots probably ideally should be replaced. Find out what they actually are. They're probably levels in the cassette player or something. Those would be the bias. Don't know what all these are, but they could be tape related, but they're not really close to the tape deck, so I don't know what they do. But yeah, it's not as bad as it could have been. It's not ideal either, but it's certainly not destroyed, thankfully. Yeah, the radio should be easy to get up and running. I'll just clean those bits off and see what's under that. And I better go and have a look and see what mechs this is supposed to have, and whether these actually are them. So this may need power to go. We've got intact belts, the usual two belts that these have. Does this have a solenoid? What does it? What triggers that gear to run? Because it's not running. It's this mechanism here somehow, probably. Oh, what have we got here? There's a button. Yeah, that must release it. So that's the play button, which doesn't do anything at the moment, but that something must trigger that gear. What does the gear actually do though? Does it wind? I think it's something to do with record, maybe. Something's stopping this play button from going though. And I can't get that gear seemingly to engage. So that's a bit of a weird one. Rewind. Fast forward. Oh, now we've got both. Whoops. Play. No hope of getting that up. So is this mech damaged? Oh, that lift's fine, so it's not that. It's something not allowing the button to engage. Very much like when your record tabs in, it stops the record lifting. Something's stopping the play lifting, but it's not. Definitely not the mech itself, because I can lift that by hand. So it's got to be this convoluted mess of levers and was that? Ooh, there goes the record button. Just popped off on my hand. It's got to be this lever. Oh no, that lever's not blocking it. Oh no, what's going on then? Sliding here, which should be fine to go up further if it wants to. It's not the lever there. I've seen that lever was stopping it, but that's what pushes on the gear to engage it. There's nothing really on this upper side. I can see a little bit moving up in there. Oh, what's this thing? Ah! It's a tape-in stopper. I don't think I've seen that on a Tanashin mech before. If you don't have the tape in the deck, this little lever flicks back on a spring and you can't press play. Why on earth you need that feature, I'm not sure, but it's probably something to do with the dubbing or whatever. They don't want people putting it into dubbing unless they've definitely got a tape in there, some sort of foolproofing, I'm guessing, so the customer doesn't get disappointed because they tried to do something and it didn't work, and then they complain something. Who knows, it'll be something silly like that. That should go in there, that should go in there, and they should. Oh, I hate clipping these things on because they're easy to break, especially when they're this old. Ah, well, that solves that problem, and if we flick that in we should be able to get record. Can't get record up now. why it doesn't record go up. We've definitely released that. Or does this go up now? Oops, I'm not pressing it right. Oh, does record... record pushes... I don't know, it's working now anyway. Maybe it was just because I had that still in place, so I hadn't pushed it properly. Doesn't matter which play goes down with record. Don't know. I must have stuffed it up a bit. This one's just a play only deck. It does go into place, that's a good sign. Rewind, fast forward, there's a little idler there. Well, yeah, that's probably actually, if I turn the, oh no, that's the broken, the reel belt's broken, so we're not going to get anything turning the reels. And which way should it turn? That should go that way. So the whole assembly, I assume, goes that way. Can we get it to do anything in play? Like lift the heads up. Something's happening. I think the head's up, but oh yeah, that pinch roller's up. So if I hit the solenoid, maybe. Well, I can't hit the solenoid. Maybe it. That solenoid should engage, I would have thought. But it's actually like stuck. Something should be pushing it out, surely, because how's it gonna... It can't push back on a solenoid, it can only suck something in when it's magnetised. Unless that's some other completely unrelated... Whoops. Going the wrong direction. Oh, I guess what happens if we hit stop, oh, that just drops back. So this is possibly a bit more primitive... Well, how do we change... Well, that would change directions then, maybe. So it's released by pressing. So here's an interesting mech. Most auto reverse ones with semi-soft touch, you often got to flick the cam gear again to make them go back into eject mode, into stop mode. So if we stop that, something should trigger, and maybe from that. Don't know how it detects the... That's one of the weird things about some of these Tanashins. I don't know how the auto stop part works. Doesn't seem to have a sensor of any obvious mechanical sort, of any obvious electronic sort. Oh wow, that's not a whole effect. Well, let's see where the wires go. I've got a switch. I don't know what that switch does. Solenoid. Reverse backward switch, another switch, that's probably the motor switch. So I wonder what this other switch is that related to the... Oh, what do we... Yeah, we've got some sort of mechanism here. Although that doesn't lift the switch per se. It allows the other thing to maybe rise up and press it. So I'm going to have to learn this whole mech, how it works. Not sure if I've even seen one like this before. These are quite a rare one, I think. But I'm guessing this little mech here, it's got another belt on it by the look of it, is your rotation, some sort of rotation sensor. Yeah, you can see the cam on the other side and this little lever here. It's probably sort of similar to another Tanashin one, the one that with a little arm that goes up and down, rather than this style with the lever bit. Yeah, I just felt that. Oh, I've got to press that, don't I? Get it into play. And yeah, if we just press that, but that's this lever here, presses it. It's a tension based one. So this I think is a rotation base, but I'm guessing, well, let's get this mech going again. Yeah, that belt's running. Yeah, and that gear's turning. So the question is, what stops it turning? So how this one works is it's actually only got an auto stop on one side, because you don't really need it on both sides. If one side stops, the other one will as well. I thought this was actually stopping because I was holding this reel still, then I realised there's nothing in the holes on the back of this one. But this other one, I don't know if this is going to come out on camera at all really, but I might just do it. It's got two little sort of yellowish plastic pins down here in a similar pair of holes to this side, which you can actually see. One on the top, one on the bottom, and then this actual lever has an arm going down there which those pins can push against. So as long as it's rotating, I think it's similar to their other one that you'll get. Well, it doesn't matter which direction, it's a two directional, that's why it's got two pins on it. If I rotate it one way, it pushes on this pin, which will hold it up slightly, and it won't catch on whatever it is on the back of this black gear. And if it's going the other way, because the other side is pulling, again, it'll push on this, hold it up, won't engage. But if nothing's rotating, it doesn't push on this black lever anymore. And this gear, when it's done a full, somewhere in its full rotation of 360 degrees, maybe it is every 180, hard to tell at the moment, but it catches this gear, and that's what changes direction. So if I rotate our capstan, we're currently going that way. Oh no, we're not, we're on this side. So this side I don't even need to stop the reel, because the fact it's not turning that reel means our little pins are disengaged, and when this gear gets far enough around, which takes quite a while, there it goes, click. Oh no, maybe not, that was a different click. When it gets far enough around, it will swap directions. But because I'm going so slow, this would normally happen a lot quicker with whatever revs this motor's doing. There it goes. So now the other reel's turning, and that is quite happily, that doesn't care a damn about that one. That'll go forever like that. But if I stop that, I've got our little pin, it's the bottom one in this case, by the look of it, is the one pressing. But if I hold that still and turn it off even, must be just a very minute amount of force. And given how lubricated this thing is, and now the other pin control has just gone up. When that happens, this little slide plate is allowed to come back, engage the idler. So these have got two rubber idler tyres, and the mech changes. So that solves that problem. I always wondered what the auto stop / auto reverse detector mechanism in these things was, but it's these gears on the back. I mean, you can sort of see from the exploded view there's something like that. It's interesting, it's got two master cams, sort of cam gears that lift the heads and everything up, one on top of the other, a black one and a grey one. So I wonder, it looks like some of that mech comes over to this thing. Yeah, so maybe one of them's involved in that direction. So maybe one changes direction and one does the main lifting, because it's definitely got two mechanisms in this thing. One to change direction, one when you initially press play has to wind everything up into position, but it doesn't have to wind it down. You just hit stop and the whole thing resets. I reckon it runs, I guess we can actually have a look at that. Let's see, let's hit play. Head's going up, we're in that forward direction, I guess you could call it. Right hand reel is running. Nothing's rotating on the gears. This will automatically go anyway because I'm not rotating the other cam. Something just seems to go click, but yeah, the grey gear. Grey gear's engaged when it clicks just for a second for a partial rotation until that pin controller's up. So they're quite easy to work out roughly how they work, these things. I better check this is actually a Tanashin mechanism that I've done on that, but I'm sure they did have one with these die-cast bits. So I'll go and find out what number it is, and whether this was some special version of the 21, because I had a feeling both these mechs were going to be different, but that's just really a 21 mech with some extra stuff on the back and an extra thing to stop it going, or stop the play button going down without a tape in there. And I've got filth all over my hands, so I'm going to go and wash that off and maybe clean that case out, and we'll come back and have a look at this. Okay, I've got everything cleaned up on the board. Had to change a couple of capacitors, a resistor and a diode that were corroded. I gave the record playback switch and the function switch a clean, and I just checked that I am getting connection from the speakers to my leads, so I'll just check there's no DC there. I've got the power supply sitting over here away from any low voltage stuff, because we don't want to risk getting high voltage in that. Is that just a 2-pin socket? It is, so that's good. No multi-voltage taps or anything weird. Hopefully figure 8 will fit in this connector. It does. So we'll fire this up and see if anything happens, I guess, without the speakers. Make sure the speakers aren't shorting. I see nothing, no lights. Where's the, that's power. Oop, power's on. And I don't know if it has any lights. It's got an FM stereo light. We've got a tape direction light. You think that would be showing one or the other, but I don't have the tape decks plugged in, so who knows. Maybe that it doubles as the power light normally. Nice when they put some sort of indication on these things. That could well be what does it. Minus 2.3. Ooh, 9. That's not looking too good. Now, can I put a 100 ohm resistor or something on there and just see if it... So it suggests it's powered up. Just see if we can discharge them. It might just be cap output, I reckon it is on this thing. Still 2.1. Oh, okay, so that was the one that was probably 9 originally. That one's at least discharged right down. Where's the other volumes are at maximum, of course, every single time. Ooh, well, we've got at least scratchies. That's a good sign. That's 2.2. I would prefer if that discharged down to nothing. Oh, it has. I think we're safe to plug it in. The other one, yeah, so we've got scratchy. Might give them a clean as well, and I can hear a bit of amplifier noise, bit of hiss there, bit of hiss there. Now we don't know what mode we're in as far as function or whether that's even going to work, but at least we've got an amplifier. CD's one end, radio is second from one end. Something's making noise without me doing anything. Ooh, there. Wow. So that function switch is still functional. What do we got? Band FM is up. Or not. That doesn't do anything. Oh. Oh, this tune is upside down, isn't it? Ah. That would explain a few things. Who would have known this record would get going that easy? Alright, it's working FM tuner, I think. Cool, now FM, shortwave,
spending that time
medium wave. It's on a channel already.
So tell me about that. Oh, well, you know, it's very boring, right?
It picks up really well. No noise or anything, how weird.
But yeah, when you're a child, you've got no choice. You've got no choice. You know, 45 minutes, I think, is really good for imagination.
Graphic equalizer flat.
But also that, you know, Catholicism has all this kind of elaborate richness of symbolism and texture and colour.
I don't think the high-end pot's working.
Candles and gold and, you know, velvet and sort of incense and all this kind of sensory, you know, over the top stuff, really.
Graphic equalizer is not the best. Well, these other buttons do. We have source or high-speed dubbing, recording mode, tape 1 normal chrome, tape 2 normal metal, and record mute. So we don't need to worry about those for now. So the electronics, believe it or not, wasn't a very long job to clean that up. I've hosed out the case and scrubbed out some of the battery muck in there, and even used a scourer to get rid of some of it. It's still a bit dirty and it's still wet because I left it out and then it rained on it. So I can't really put it back in there right now. But at least we know the electronics, like I say, no tape indication. But we can probably hook these tape decks up to this, though I haven't actually given them a clean up yet. But I'm amazed that it works. The damage isn't as bad as it looks. It's not the greatest, but that one certainly had battery stuff splattered all over the place. Oh, what have we got here? A little spring. I think that came out of that somewhere. No idea what that is, but I found out what our mechs are, though I better look at my note I made again, because this is a... Oh, it's gone, there it is. This is a super rare sort of mech. The auto reverse there is a TN-222F. Don't know if the F means much. And this one is a TN-29F. And I've got notes on these. I didn't even have pictures of these at all. But I did have a note that from the exploder view, it basically looks like a TN-21 with that little auto stop mech there. But it's got this extra gear on it. And now looking at it, it's got this extra metalwork. I don't think did I ever work out what the gear actually does or what operates it? Oh, it's going now. Is it like a partial... Oh, it does lift the mech up. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was some sort of... Oh, we've got to press that, haven't we? Some sort of semi-auto or soft touch kind of mech, but I'll be damned, it's actually a TN-21 with added, not quite logic control. They do make logic control decks as well, which of course have no buttons on them at all in the mechanical sense. That is a semi sort of soft touch one. So, well, that was quite a versatile mechanism, this one, so it shows what they could do with it, even though it's got the very primitive sort of cheapo auto stop. I mean, it does the job. I'll give it a bit of a clean up. That is a little bit more advanced version of it. Hitachi, or certainly one of the only people that I could find a manual for that actually used this mech. I'm sure others probably did. You'd hope they would have sold it to a few people, but Hitachi used quite a few Tanashin mechs in their stuff. And I had the manual for the 550. This is a 555, but somehow I worked out this should be the same machine. There was some risk involved in buying this that it wouldn't be the same machine or same mechanisms in it. You never know, but it looked the same on the outside. I mean, there's very little chance of it's built at the same time, looks the same, that they're going to change it. And it's still, you know, it's got the same features like auto reverse, because often there's machines, I think Hitachi and others, where some countries you get the fancy mechanism and other countries you just get a pair of TN-21 basic mechs, I guess based on the price or what the market will bear, or I don't know what the story is. But they did have, like, basically they just fitted into the same machines, and maybe you needed a bit of different wiring or whatever, but almost, I guess, mechanically and electronically you could just plug one mech in place of the other one. At least if they were set up right from the factory anyway. And I think these are from the late 80s. So these were made, I think this machine came out around 87, 88. This Hitachi, which is, I think as early as late 85, the TN-21 and 21Zs were out. I got one manual from like November or December 85 lists them. But they are officially, I think, listed as coming out in 1986. Maybe someone got some early ones. So anything after 86 was TN-21s or 21Zs mostly. These must have been the early auto reversers they had back then. But these seem to be like the first, I don't know if it's their first auto reverse, but may well be their Tanashin's first auto reverse mech. Doesn't really share much in common with this, I don't think. It's still got rubber idler tyres in it. Thankfully these ones are in good condition. And yeah, fixed head, not a rotating head. But some of their later mechs after this still had, I think possibly some of them had the option of fixed head or rotating head, or they just call them a different mech number, but they're otherwise the same or something. And this has got that very rusty motor in it. I'll have to get some photos of these now that I've finally got some, and that's one of the reasons I did want to get hold of this machine, even when I found out it was in even worse condition than I thought. It didn't look to be in too bad condition and was meant to work at first. But at least this was an honest eBay seller, so we negotiated a bit. And he was going to give me a refund, and I said, oh, can you do me a sort of half price or something? And sent me the thing. I probably should have tried to get even lower price looking at it now, but it turned out it isn't that bad, besides a few missing knobs and one broken switch. It'll still look alright as a sort of shelfie unit from a distance. And like I said, it's the cheapest way I could really get hold of these mechs, and because there's very few, like I said, that I know of, very few machines that use them. I think there might even be a Sansui cassette player that uses them, but the chances of getting a hi-fi deck of one random model is pretty low. I mean, they'll probably turn up by the dozen now that I've actually got one. But these are two decks out of one machine that I didn't have, hadn't seen in the flesh. Not a bad deal really, even though the machine turned out to be pretty messy, but it's not, so far it hasn't actually been much more work than actually fixing a normal one anyway, so they normally need a good clean up and all the rest. And I really haven't spent that much time on this, thankfully. I didn't bother filming it because it's just routine sort of stuff, and no one else is ever going to see one of these with exactly the same damage, I wouldn't think. I guess the fact that the battery acidy stuff leaks probably down through the same holes. I was sort of, when I was hosing out, thinking that it's the way they mould the plastic, and that means they leave lots of gaps around the battery compartment, when really they should have kept them sealed, I guess, to protect the unit. But I guess the manufacturer doesn't care if they just want to sell more of them. But yeah, the problem is the way they mould the plastic cases to make all the standoffs and stuff tends to leave gaps everywhere in the back, which is good for ventilation but not good when your batteries leak. But this is actually quite clean. Doesn't look like it's got much wear on the heads at all, if any. I'm sure they would have been used a bit, but this is probably a low hours machine. Even the pinch rollers, besides a slight bit of tape oxide, are almost mint by the look of it. So thankfully this mech has been kept in reasonable conditions. I think besides one of the belts was definitely rotted out, which, you know, you'd expect in these anyway. But this 1021 one, I think's, they're actually almost like new. I think they're certainly not bad. See if we can stop that motor pulley turning. That one's a little, is it turning or not? I might be still letting it turn. Oh yeah, I was. No, they're fine. These are almost as good as new, these ones. And the motor seems alright. So we've got, yeah, a little soft touch version. That's pretty cool. So Tanashin certainly made, I guess they'd have to make mechs for every occasion, every manufacturer's whim, or you're just not going to get the sales. But yeah, a little bit of corrosion on those buttons will have to be polished off afterwards and probably won't come up perfect. Now this is the one, I've cleaned the idlers and stuff, so we've got a belt out, and we've got pretty bad rust here. But when I was winding it through by hand, surprisingly all this works even though it's covered in rust. Or is it just dusty rust off the batteries? I think quite a bit of it is just, I've had to clean the unit pretty well, because any of this rusty stuff left behind is probably corrosive, and it doesn't really matter when it's on these plastic gears, I guess, but if it falls off and goes somewhere, it's the sort of stuff that can ruin your electronics if it gets it all damp or moist from humidity or anything, cold weather. Yeah, we've got rusty old capstans there, but that belt I think is still good. It's strange that some of these belts are fine. So that one goes between the capstan and the auto stop thing, and yeah, that slips pretty easy if I'm holding the right thing, which I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah, don't think it'll matter for that, because it's it does stop almost without touching it. And where did the other one go? It comes obviously from that. I guess it goes to the other caps. Oh yeah, I can see it's still stuck on there, can I? Yeah, that's it. So that goes around the pulley on this capstan. I guess, have we got any little plastic? Yes we do, I think. I guess we can pull this mech apart and have a look. I wouldn't be surprised if we can get this thing completely going, which is quite amazing. So what we've got to watch is the switch. We've got wiring everywhere, so the switch goes onto some little metal thing. Oh yeah, so that goes either side of the switch. That probably wants a good clean as well. How's this bracket come off? 2 screws that end, 1 screw that end, or probably. And that spring might have to come off the little eject lever thing. If we can get it off there, it's glued on one end, which is always annoying. Oh, that end, it goes the other opposite way. I just bent it a bit. It should flick out the other side now. I think I need a small screwdriver. At least if it's glued there, which is probably to help the factory get it in without it falling off on the production line. It should help me not lose it as well. Let's see if this just loosens off, or do we have to take the... It does. Do we have to take the eject thing off? I don't think so, by the look of it. So what do we do with this mess? I think I unscrew the board, I reckon. Well, I need to get that off anyway because I've got to clean it. 2 little tiny screws. So the big one on that side. Doubt it matters much anyway, but it doesn't want to come out. There it is. They're pretty rusty. Switch is pretty rusty. Everything's dirty. That was bound to be noisy, I would think. So there's the little metal prongs it fits in. And now we're going to have trouble with all this other wiring, no doubt. How's that switch held on? Oh, it's clipped in. Sometimes you just need to remove all these little things, I think. What's it press on? Oh, the little lever. It's on the outside of that lever going up towards the solenoid. It's catching on something, it seems. Or it just doesn't want to come out. Oh, you got to swing it more, I think. We've got another switch there, probably wants to come off. That's the problem with these fancier mechanisms, is there's more stuff in the way. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen these mechs before. I wouldn't be surprised if I had at some stage, but of course I wouldn't remember. You didn't take a lot of notice of them, you just fixed whatever needed fixing and got it back out the door as quick as possible without taking any notice of the design, really, other than if you had to remember to do it again sometime. So now we're sort of getting there. I think that cable tie is going to have to go. Oh, actually it's on the... Oh, maybe this is designed to... Maybe I should have just took that switch off. And yeah, maybe I should have. Looks like all this is made to... But we've still got that head problem, but it is meant to lift off with the mech. So there's no point cutting the cable tie because it's not going to release anything useful anyway. I think I've got enough loose, so I should be able to swing all this bit out of the way. That's what I'm hoping, although getting this main belt back on doesn't look much fun. But I guess yeah, it's kind of sticking to the capstan a bit more. Look, let's pull it off the pulley. So I've had it running and it seems alright. It seems to have... It sort of shut off when I let it go. Okay, something else holding this. Is something on the back of these capstans. Is that a sprung thing? Oh, what have we got here? Some... Oh, what sort of... Oh, we've got to slide it a bit, I think. Ah, yeah, that's it. Slide it, unhook it. I need to get that other switch off, I think. Where does it clip? And how does it clip? It's got to be down under this button assembly somewhere. Can't see a thing. Maybe I'll just unsolder it, because sometimes it's just easier to unsolder them than risk breaking them trying to unclip them when you can't see how to unclip them. Someone's wrapped that right around, haven't they? Which is good building practice, I guess, but annoying when you've got to get it later. Come on. Well, it's not the easiest thing to unsolder, that's for sure. Uh-oh. That didn't feel good. Ah, you're kidding me. The damn plastic's melting and the switch is coming with the switch contacts coming out of the plastic. So I need to get that back in there, don't I? Now you don't want to melt. Yeah, it's actually the wires pulled, so that wasn't such a good idea. But I knew that was going to happen. Well, we're halfway back, and now the other, of course something's pressing on the switch, isn't it? Oh, we're in play mode, are we? That doesn't help. Well, that got rid of it. That's it. I think I got it back together. Except I've soldered the terminals together. I hope that's right. Well, now I didn't take much notice of pulling the rest of it apart because I was too busy messing around with the switch. I might even leave that belt in here. Yeah, that one's that just wants changing. I think it's just too slippy. Our little plastic washer's nearly gone because I was fiddling around. We've got another plastic washer there, of course. Always one there wanting to escape. Goodbye, old belt. And I guess we can, if we sit that about there, and it doesn't slide, but it's going to slide because this silly mechs that sort of a shape. Can I get that to... That will give us our rough idea of our size. Is that the sort of size I want? I reckon it's going to be close. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. We don't know for sure yet, but I guess I can get that to clean. Not too bad, just dirt coming off the metal mostly. Give you how to want to clean all of that there. Get that one clean. Does that still move? I think that wants a bit of grease on it, to be honest, because it's all rusty. Whether it really normally needs grease there, I don't know, but because it's rusty, I'm going to put a bit, try and make its life a bit easier. And it might stop the metal rusting anymore as well. So we can actually, we've got more dirty, rusty stuff all over the cam gear there, and more on there is just dust and muck everywhere. Now where are we? That we want, and then the other one I can do separately. Should probably oil that, but is that a bit too big? Oops. Doesn't help when you let it fall off. I'll get back on there. This belt's a bit weirdly twisted or something. So that washer's trying to escape again. Now it's stopping me going on. I think this one's way too long. Yep. That's a bit smaller. Let's try that one. Now we're going to lose that washer if we're not careful. It's sitting on the end there, so make sure you put it back on. That's the kind of thing I want. Okay, that's one I've done. I've better put my other little washer back in place before I forget it. That's on, yeah. I thought it had disappeared. Okay, get the other one off. Don't really need the mech sitting straight now, but so that's got a little small little pulley on that one. That's a tiny little belt. So it looks like that belt that was broken is just a rewind fast forward thing. I can hear something clicking there that might be the auto stop or something. Mech rises up. So these, oh yeah, these go by the idlers, of course. Yeah, so that broken belt only stopped the rewind fast forward operating anyway, so I probably could have got away without it, but might as well replace them. Oh, oops, I was going to say this wire's looking a bit feeling a bit flimsy, and of course it's already just broken, so God, that doesn't take much to break that one. That's as flimsy as the earth feels like it's starting to go on it. I mean, just the weight of that cable shouldn't be enough to break it that quickly. Haven't fiddled with it that much unless someone's already been in here sometime. Really annoying when these things happen. Yeah, that's got the... Now that the earth is solid, that might stop it messing the other bits up. I don't think... Did I cut a cable tie on that? I don't... No, I loosened that wire off. But that's why they put cable ties on them. Though normally not many people are in here repairing them very often. So when that comes in handy. You've got to keep an eye on those sort of things. Now I do want to get a photo of these. So actually I'm not going to pull this back together anyway, so that's okay. Let's just see if I can plug them in. Maybe it's time for the radio to go. I don't really need the radio. And I did notice that there's two connectors here the same size, which is one of my pet hates in things. But I assume that since that one's near the record playback switch, it'd have to be cassette, and this one's near the function switch, it should be radio, and well, the radio works, so I assume I got it right. Oh, these are right over here. That shows that those pots must be something to do with one of the tape decks. So this is going to be the potential with this to have issues with, is these rusty trim pots. That one go in there, must do. And we have a, so does this head come in over here? Oh, this, I think we've got a power, great big long wire on this one, would have to be the other connector there. So it looks like it's got power related stuff, in fact not head related, so maybe those pots are the speed, they must probably the speed settings. Speed setting trim pots, so we may have speed issues or something. This should go into that little three-way, I guess. What is this? This is record, playback only head deck, I think. The auto reverse one. Well, there's no erase head, so it must be. This has an erase head, so this has a few more connections. That's not plugging in for some reason. Stuff in the way. That's it. So we'll get our function from radio to tape. That's the one next to it. I think if I come forward one spot, I guess we might as well maybe put a tape in and find it that way, would be better. Okay, make sure our 240 volts is safe. Ooh, scared the hell out of me. I thought it was a crackling noise, but it was just the tape deck. Rewind, fast forward. Oh, so that's, of course we need an auto stop in those modes. So it does of course need auto stop. Does this should have a direction switch, shouldn't it? Of course that's because that's our auto, well that's going into auto stop. What sort of auto reverser are you? Okay, that's interesting. Maybe because we need to tell it, oh, we shouldn't have to tell it's in auto reverse mode, surely. Press it on the right end would help. Oh yes, it is a lift up. And we've got a bit of sound. Yeah, got a bit of sound. Anyway, by the look of it, what's making that? Uh-oh. Do I see smoke? That's a sound never good. Whoops. What is cooking? Why is it cooking? Is it something to do with these motors? It could be. It was fine until I went to that. Oh yeah, something's not happy. Let's unplug the speakers. Why would the amp decide to kill itself? It's not hot though, that's the weird thing. But that's a risk you take with corroded stuff like this. Now, I didn't short on anything when I moved it across here, did I? Doesn't look like it. But that certainly sounded like an amp issue. When they start making that sort of noise out your speakers. 7 volts, but that might just be the cap. 7 volts. It's gone down. Don't see. I could have sworn there was a slight bit of smoke coming up from this thing. Fine. Nothing wrong with the speaker connectors, it seems. Very weird. Let's plug the radio back in.
Incredibly energetic journalist, and he's written Young Rupert, the making of the Murdoch Empire.
Well, that's odd. Let's just plug the motor part of this thing back in and see if it's possible. Maybe something with this graphic equalizer or something. Don't know.
As soon as he touches down in Adelaide initially, the News Limited, the company he's inherited from his father, is thrown into the if they lost that day.
Should be around there somewhere. We should have audio. That wire's just short, way too short and annoying. Okay. Seems a bit quick, but is that just my imagination?
Protege had been in this very...
Nothing. Oh, what up? Ooh, that made it go fast. Why does the playback record switch make it run fast on this deck? Oh, in high speed dubbing or something? Oh, we've got a direction light at least. How do I change direction on this supposed auto reverse? Ah, there's a switch which no longer exists, but it's in between. Oh no, that's dubbing. A reverse mode and direction is all that plastic stuff here. Ah, that's these levers. That should be this bottom lever. Oh yeah, there we go. Ha! Too easy. Let's get rid of that for a second. Oh god, now you're going to be a pain, aren't you? Change direction so we don't have the auto stop. Nothing, it's as dead as... So it could be this switch is faulty.
You know, half century.
You know, if it works in one mode or other. What's the other setting? It is tape, radio, CD, line in. CD, so it's got a separate CD and line in. What the?
be constant
So that's line in, I think.
position that Rupert makes. He has to make it as profitable as possible.
Something the ABC wouldn't know about.
Mill that spans around the world where
I assume that's ABC because no one else will be talking about Murdoch non-stop. Recording mode, I'll source slash dunno. Yeah, so we're not getting any audio from the head part of things. So this is the one that goes to the record playback switch. Now this is when I started having issues with things smoking and stuff, and I just plugged that in without turning the power off, which was a bit naughty. I need something make a noise. Probably just the power of the motor. I don't know if that tape's definitely got something on it, which is another hassle. Let's get out love songs or something. Dr. Hook, that'll do. Well, at least it's running okay. Doesn't like sitting on the bench though.
those first early,
Nothing.
very young, and
Is that something?
I believe is where we are in the Don Dunstan trajectory. But he was trying to build up this sort of network.
No, nothing. So not sure, probably shouldn't do that because it might erase part of the tape. But we've got something else out somewhere, so it could be this chip, because that BA chip's pretty rusty and horrible, but I don't know whether that does both decks or just one. The fact I'm not getting anything out of here, ooh. Where am I? What was something there for a second? Could mean the switch, mode switch is stuffed. But the old poke test, and this is where I really need the circuit to probably track which pins of this switch go to tape deck. So that's, whoops, belt's hitting the bench. Oh, that's disappointing. After so much success. But the decks are basically running, at least mechanically.
There, I think, to create the
That sounds, I think that's in that mode. It's
balloon.
wire
But that
position
encounter
to
was-
position. Yeah.
Used to air hit.
That should be in the right spot, I think. And well, I might have to get rid of these tape decks, would be a good start. Not the easiest things to plug in and out all the time. But let's rid ourselves of that. Let's see. Which switch is it? That one there, isn't it? Gotta be so careful you don't short anything out on anything, because there's always screws and rubbish, solder. Obviously don't do this in anything with 240 volts everywhere. Got a dry joint on there? I swear that switch has got some dry joints. It does, I'm pretty... That might be the input to the amp. Or yeah, that... In fact, we're getting on a few pins. Would suggest they're connecting to something. That just look dry. Maybe it's just the flux on it. That one's definitely not great. Not sure if they're actually dry, but I might just resolder a few of them just to make sure. It can be very hard to tell at times, but in these corroded things, you may get an issue. Just from the corrosion and stuff. And it always pays to get those sort of things out of your mind, so you're not wasting time on dry joints, but I don't think that's going to be anything to do with it. Those ones aren't connected to anything, so one half of this switch really doesn't do a lot by the look of it. Most of those are not connected to anything. Maybe it's switching power on one side and audio on the other. You'd hope you get something around this chip. Might be worth just checking the connections on that aren't all corroded, because the pins look kind of rusty. That one's not connected. That one is. And you don't want your chips looking like that, because stuff will get up the pins of these and in under the plastic and destroy the connections inside them. Yeah, I think some of these just look kind of dry, but it's just the way the flux is on them or something. I think they have like a ring on them. Okay. Turn it on again. You'd hope it to be somewhere around this chip we could get some. Oh, we can maybe. No. They're making some noises good. There you go. That's the channels. That's the second pin and that pin. If only I could find where they go. I'm just guessing here, but this is probably heading to the switch. Then again, it's not any. Oh, wait up. That goes wee all the way to the switch. So I think we've got audio. I think the switch is working. We're in tape mode. But what we don't have, we have outputs from this chip. But we don't seem to have any inputs. A little bit of noise. That should hum like hell. It could be that our BA chip's dead. I wonder if it's got voltage to it. Can we use the speaker out? We can use the RCA outputs for ground, because we could have broken tracks, anything here. Some of these tracks have been pretty badly corroded. I think that's the ground. Or not. None of these measure the ground. What the? Our RCAs must be in a sorry state. Wow, do they not connect to anything, really? There we are. God, they're just so corroded, I think. They're just... So that is, the pin I thought it was, is earth by the look of it. So one coming, oh yeah, that would be earth. It's just going to nowhere, so that's an earth track. And we should have some sort of voltage, probably on an end pin of this chip, but not necessarily. Could be in the middle of this one side. Who knows with these people? Maybe that's what was. Oh, because we were plugged into the cassette player when it was making those horrible noises. Oh, we've got 9 volts there. Could it have been something on the cassette? Cooking up 6 volts there, 2.5 volts there. Kind of looks like it's probably active. We could have been hearing this chip burning up or something, because it's got battery acid all inside it. Oh, now it's like 9 volts. Or is that what I said? Oh no, the other one was the 6 volt, wasn't it? So 9 volts here, not there. So that's probably a cap to ground or something. Is that a pin to there? Looks like it. That goes to the record playback switch. That probably is our B+. So do we have a dead chip or something else? Probably a dead chip, I don't know. Might have to get the circuit for it and see what pin does what, but that is a weird colour. All those pins look rusted to me. What's it, a BA3408? A couple of brown tops capacitors, but I think that's actually glue from before. But maybe, like I say, those weird sounds we're hearing weren't the amp chip or something short down in the graphic equalizer. It could well have been this chip, because I could see a little waft of smoke coming. It looked like it was over this area. Amp chip didn't feel warm, so worse luck, that might have died, and I doubt I'd have another one anywhere. And given the condition this thing is possible, another one would smoke if you put it in there too. Guess we can pull it out and have a quick look. I did turn the power off, didn't I? And someone's nicely, or kindly bent some of the pins over, I guess, so they didn't move in the wave soldering machine or something. But there's always a risk of this sort of thing in these things in this condition. You just don't know what you're going to find. It's usually pretty random. If that hooking device is any good for lifting chips off boards, oh it is. So they're multi-purpose tools, these. So is this marked? It is marked which pin goes where. That is rather rusty looking, but doesn't smell cooked, doesn't look cooked. Usually you'll see something. There is a little thing on the end there, that could be something. That could just be a manufacturer. I mean, just a bit of rust there, you wouldn't think it'd cause any problems. No sign of any great issues there. Just worries me that I'm not getting any. I'm getting outputs but no sign of inputs. Now it's possible, I don't see any transistors around here really. There's some sort of, oh they're part of the bias oscillator I would say, being sort of higher power ones. Probably not any muting or anything obvious. Now, there's probably muting somewhere in this thing, but not on that part of the cassette player I don't think, so who knows. Got a pretty dodgy joint there, but I guess I just unsoldered it. I guess we could get the oscilloscope out as the other thing and just poke around. It should go through the record playback switch. I don't even know for sure this is an audio chip, but you'd assume it'd have to be. This definitely looks like an audio area. Now where's the other there's a 3-pin connector, that's what I said, that thing, that'd probably be it. Yeah. It's doing something. Comes down, possibly through a cap or something, I'm guessing at the end of that chip. Yep. Straight into a pin on the chip. That should be humming like hell. Not getting that noise from just touching anything. That's one of them. The other one goes to that pin. Yeah, so this is definitely head preamp chip. And it is seemingly not doing anything. Okay, I've printed out a bit of the circuit for this thing. And that's the wrong, well, not the wrong part, but a different part. And this is our little BA chip. Basically what it is actually switches between deck 1 and 2 heads. So I've got one set of heads there, record play. Another set up here, tape 1. That's the one that comes directly into the chip. Well, they haven't shown both channels for clarity, I guess, but through a cap into pin 1, or it switches to the other one in pin 2. And then it's got looks like a little amplifier in there. That's the outputs where I would have been getting the hum out of pin 15 and 13, I guess. We do have power coming in on pin 3 and ground on 4. And it should be around 9 volts because there's a regulator transistor with a 9 volt, I think 9.1 volt Zener diode. So it's going to end up somewhere around that voltage, so that 8.7 order we got is probably about right, with a drop through the transistor maybe. And also we've got, I think, what was it, 220 ohm resistor, I think, in line as well. Yep, 220 ohm resistor, so that's probably dropping a little bit. Got another ground pin. We've got normal metal switching. I think 2 of those, yeah, one, don't know why there's 2 of them really. S4042 and S405, so tape 1 and tape 2, so not sure what have separate ones if they're switched into the same amplifiers, you would think. So maybe there is some other circuitry they're not really showing here. And then we've got the switch voltage comes in on this pin 8. I've scribbled switch there, which is what's on the other side here. Which way around is it printed? Where I've circled a couple of things, comes all the way down through a 33k resistor by the look of it. And to this, there's a couple of diodes here. I was going to look at what that other line was, and I haven't got around to it actually, now that I think about it. But we've got this tape select switch, and that's like the bias, what do they call it, oscillator block. So I'm guessing from what I can see in the circuit, there might actually be a voltage comes in here to feed the oscillator block there. So maybe when that oscillator block is on and we're in record mode, it sends a signal up to switch to one of those decks, maybe the record deck or something, or I guess it'll be the other deck maybe, because if that's in record mode we want the other deck to play. So it probably switches to tape 1 input. I think that was tape 1. We've got another switch here which should have about 9 volts I've written there, which comes out, oh yeah, this is that little play switch, which might have been that switch I melted a bit when I was pulling the wire off. It's one of those switches on that deck. It's the deck with the solenoid motor power switch, which the other one has. This also got a fast forward rewind switch and a play switch. And when we're going to play, we're getting the 9 volts here, I think. Switches, comes up, also switches a couple of transistors, which go through the record playback switch, as well as comes through a diode to that line. So I'm assuming when we press play on this deck, it automatically switches that IC. Though come to think of it, well, it must be when that's high, because this is a record deck, I think, wasn't it? That was the one, the fancy deck with all the switches on it. Yeah, that was the one we pulled a bit, so that's a record deck. So when that line goes high, pin 8 goes high, it must switch to what is tape 2. And I assume when it's not, doesn't have a voltage on there, it probably reverts back to tape deck 1. So automatically, if this tape deck's operated, it'll just play. There's no switching to this chip, it's just in default playback 1 or tape deck 1. And I'm guessing when we press tape deck 2, what was that switch actually labelled as? Play switch. When we press play on that, it tells this, puts a high up this line, 9 volts, tells this thing to switch to tape 2. So I can at least check that. I still reckon that chip's probably shot. They're only about $8 to get one, so they're not a very expensive IC. But I think it might be a good idea to check it, make sure we are getting the right voltages on the right pins, I'm getting audio out the right things, as everything as predicted, because I was just guesstimating before. So if we put our pin on, that's the IC there, I don't know which way around it is now. Looks like pin 1's up there, so that's pin 1 that side, and that's the highest numbered pin there. We should have an out on pin 15, which I think it was. Yep, nice bit of hum there, and pin 13, 15, 14, that's the other channel. Yep, so definitely got outputs. We know the function switch, everything's working there. You could actually input a proper signal, but I just tend to use the hum technique because I've always got it with me. Don't need any special equipment, don't have to set anything up. And then the inputs, we can check our voltages, is the next main thing to check. Wake up, Fluke. Now I can actually see the multimeter, and what did I say, pin 1 there. Pin, I guess we should check 4 is ground and 3 is positive. So it's these two here, that's our big ground plane, I guess. Yeah, that goes all over the board. And pin 3 is that one, which is at 8.4 volts. Possible that resistor's high to it or something, but I doubt it. That's probably, is that the voltage through here? No. Where does that component go? That's, oh, that's the capacitor. This must be the resistor going up this way. Over to here maybe. 8.4. So I haven't got any real drop over the resistor by the look of it. No, so if anything this thing isn't drawing any real current. And we know that's ground, it looks like it's connected to ground. The only other one is, I think pin 9 should be ground. I guess we can just check there's no voltage on pin 9. What is that one? The first, it's 8 on one side, so it's the first pin. Oh yeah, that's obviously ground. I can see it's joined to the same tracks through here, basically the same piece of copper. So we've got input on, we want the pin 8. That's the other interesting one, is pin 8. And because we've got the decks disconnected, now that could be an issue, I guess, but it should default according to my guesstimations. But it's possible that needs, I don't think it, well, it can't really do anything else. It's at 0 volts. We should have input, according to me, that should be deck 1 input, which is pin 1 and pin 5. So that's pin 1, nothing, 5, nothing. And we can actually, I guess, force a voltage into that. I don't know which switch does which, but let's see if we can get a, by pressing play, let's get rid of the tuner. By pressing play on deck 2 here, we should be able to see if that switch still functions. And does it power this thing up? Maybe that's what that 3-pin connector, oh no, 3-pin connector's the motor. But now we've got the issue of the tape deck probably has to swing into motion. I think that's the little, or is that the motor switch? Yeah, we don't know which switch is it, because there's 2 more switches up the top here. That's something to do with the auto reverse. But anyway, if I get this deck to fire, which it's not doing, we haven't got anything. What's going on? We've got no, how did it get turned off? Must have pressed it. How do I change direction? We flick that, so if I get it running in that direction, I can still access the chip and ground, hopefully. Some of the grounds on this aren't too good. Pin 8, that's right. So that's the one down the bottom of this side. And we don't have any, oh, getting something happening. Oh yeah, it's 7.6 volts. Not that anyone can see it. There it is. So around the 8 volts coming in. And when we press stop, still, oh, there's a little cap across there that's still charged up by the look of it. But what I could do, if I flip this over, is we can test the chip inputs with the old, sticking a bit of hum in there. And wasn't quick enough to change it, so the auto stop didn't work. We should now get hum in on pins 6 and 2. Is it still pin 2? Something's happening. Yeah, 6 is 2 back from there. 8, 7, 6 and 2. Nothing. So I think that chip is shot. As I predicted before, just through some crude stuff. Always nice to confirm it with the circuit. But unfortunately we're not getting any sound out of this thing until I get another chip, which is a bit annoying. So I'll get some photos of the decks and stuff, and then I think I'll order one of those chips just to get this thing going for the hell of it, because I've got to have a listen to these new Tanashins and see what they sound like. I'm just dismantling the actual, this is AM FM band, or the radio band switch. I've pulled the little lever part out to try and fix our function switch, and then I've popped out a little ball bearing that was behind it, because the other one I think was originally in there but it's disappeared. And now I know where this little spring that I found on the bench, tiny little spring, it's sitting in behind the ball bearing there. So I probably should pull one out of this switch as well, because it's only going to fall out anyway. And that's it. So that switch I can just be the one to manually switch. I think I'll just leave it in FM mode, because I'm not going to listen to AM, I'm probably not going to listen to FM, I'm probably not going to use this thing at all, but might as well have it in somewhat functional mode. So in theory I should be able to put the spring, maybe I need my needle nose pliers, which of course have disappeared every time. So I need to sort of poke that down in there, yeah, that's it. And then try and, I don't know if I should dare hold that needle nose pliers. You shouldn't really hold ball bearings like that, because they're going to shoot off, but you just don't put any pressure on them. Whoops. Of course you think it's sitting there, but it's not. Now the spring's shot back out. I think we're just going to have to sit that on the end of the spring, which I think is where it was anyway, like that. So I've got a ball bearing on the end of the spring, and I should be able to clip this thing back in with the, we're just going to make sure the little lever bit goes down into the right part of the switch, like so. And this should be a lot easier. It wasn't very easy to get out. You've got to sort of prise everything apart on this plastic bit. Look at that. So we should have an operating function switch now, and we've actually got a good, that's the broken knob off the radio one. Still got the shaft in it, of course. If we can pull that out, just like that. Didn't expect it to be that easy. I should now have a proper function switch, so that makes this thing a lot better. So at least that's, I was just cleaning up the knobs and stuff, and I thought that's it, I'm gonna see if I can fix that. And with that new chip, hopefully this will be pretty much a working unit. Okay, I'll have a quick look at whether I can do much to restore these speakers a bit as well. Oh, I've got 2 tweeters in this, that's a weird one. I guess one's meant to be a mid-range maybe. But I think I may have to try and remove the grill. How's this one stuck on? I'm not even sure. Stuck to the front. I was expecting some aluminium through the back here, and there's nothing. So, but I think that's the first boombox I've looked at with twin tweeters. What have we got there? There's a resistor. Comes in, yeah. Oh wait, one's, what have they done here? One's across the terminals. The other one goes via a resistor. So one's louder than the other, I guess. Certainly isn't going to affect its frequency frequency range, unless they are themselves designed. They look like the same thing, but you know, it doesn't mean they are. They could be designed for different frequency ranges, and one of them was a bit too loud, so they had to turn it down a bit or something. Who knows, or maybe they're just faking that one's a bit different to the other. You wouldn't know. So that could do with a bit of a dust out, but that's actually in quite good condition. Doesn't look like it's been in the sun. They're usually all grey, starting to grey a little bit, but it's one thing I guess we can say about this. It's hasn't been faded too much. What is that? 2.8 ohms at 5 watts. And yeah, we definitely have foam in here, as I suspected. And it's just, I can't even pick it up. It's just disintegrating. So it's actually a thicker foam than I thought. I thought it was more like a mesh thing, but it's a very open weave sort of foam, stuck on with double-sided tape stuff. And yeah, I don't know what you can use in its place. It's almost like a vacuum cleaner filter or something, thing that looks kind of vacuum cleaner like to me. I guess we can at least remove the worst of it, but I might have to, I guess, unsolder these. I don't know if they can be clipped out easily. You risk damaging something here, I guess. And these hooks are handy little tools. If I can break that glue and maybe pop it out, I guess then you've got to glue it back in again is the hassle, but that's just coming, I think. Oh yeah. Bit hard to work. I guess we should mark one of them as the bottom one. I don't think it matters really which order they go in, but maybe call that one the top, T for top. But might as well put it back the way it was, I guess. Oh, that's the way to do things. Ugh, stuck in there. They certainly look identical. They could do with a clean, so that's another reason to get them out, I guess. Oh, they're filthy. I'll do that while I think of it, because I'm guaranteed to forget otherwise. And put it all back together, and probably remember then. So it is quite a dirty boombox, this one. But there's not that much dust in the speaker box, surprisingly. But how you get it all over these bits, I don't know. Okay, let's get that out of the way. And I guess I'll shake out what I can of the loose stuff. I think this, yeah, this has got a big dent in the grill as well. At least I can get to that. I guess we should probably tear most of that stuff out while I'm at it. Get it in the rubbish bin. And I should be able to press that back out, hopefully. The dent is right there somewhere. That'll make it look a ton better, just getting rid of that. It's got a bit of paint missing. Yeah, it hasn't bent out perfectly, but it's better than it was. Try and get that centre up a bit. Yeah, we've got a little bit of bendy stuff still around the site of the bend. That's the problem with them. Very hard to get them perfectly straight again. But yes, a million times better than it was. It's only really when you look down it you can tell. Yeah, from a normal viewing point, I doubt you could tell there's ever been bent. Might have to get some black paint or something, maybe even on just a cotton bud to fix up the, still foam coming out. Fix up the grill there, but can I get this grill off this thing? Because ideally we want to rip all the foam. I assume it goes right through this square area that you can see inside the silver, and the silver really wants fixing as well as another thing. I'm very loath to touch these because I know how easily they get destroyed. If you get down sort of below the edge and prise a bit, so you're scraping or bending something that's out of sight, they are very well stuck in there. At least that corner lifts a little bit. They weren't made to be serviced again, and you risk marking the plastic as well, which is a real pain. These top bits look reasonably loose, but when you get to the corner something's... Yeah, I'm bending it a bit, but it's not lifting. God, yeah, that corner's just tight as. Ah, that's it. I think some of these were melted in, I think that's what it is. I think they either use ultrasonics or something to actually melt them in. You can see the plastic's got a different texture there. That is probably it, right where that slot would be. Yes, I get a bad feeling I've come across that before. So what do? I guess I'm just going to have to try and peel out what I can from the inside here. So even that plastic's had its day a bit. Does the foam keep going? I think it does. I can't really think what else I can do other than try and tear all this stuff off. If I can get that plastic. Even that's hard to get off. I was hoping to put some... Well, in theory you could fit a new bit of foam through this hole on the back, I guess. If I can get rid of enough of the old stuff. Ah, it's bits of foam. Oh, that's a good sign, so I don't have to fix the silver after all. I was assuming because of the condition of this thing that the silver had been damaged by some liquid or something, but yeah, I think most of that can be poked off there. Oh, that's a bit of a bonus, because that was probably one of the worst things about this speakers is the fact that yeah, that's mostly come off. Oh, amazing. And yeah, I think that's a bit of an improvement. We don't want that bit stuck to it. So I'll have a look at the other one. I guess I'll do the same. Yeah, that looks ratty. That actually doesn't look too bad like that. If you didn't know it had foam in there originally, but you could actually cut a piece of foam, I think, and jam it back in there. If you could poke it up through one of those holes and sort of spread it out, massage it back into place. I haven't cleaned the rest of the case up, but I think it's not in that bad a condition really. It's a bit grotty on that end, bit of battery acid on the base, battery rust, whatever it is. And yeah, this one could do with a bit of paint, but I might see if I can match. I've got some, just using some glossy black paint on the Pioneer car stereo with a rusty lid, so I'll spray some of that onto a cotton bud or something. Might just clean this rust off, maybe just very slightly with some sandpaper, and hopefully that'll come up looking pretty good. So we've got a new BA3408. This is the one that had a lot of battery leakage on it. Almost looks like it's burnt there. I don't know what all that black stuff was. A lot of corrosion on everything. As far as I can tell, it's that chip. Usually I'd say it'd be very unlikely to be that chip, but in this case it could be faulty because of the damage to it. So let's change it and see. Most of these can be unsoldered a couple of pins at a time, and usually just flick it out with a screwdriver. There is a proper tool for doing this. Yeah, certainly a bit of rust to it or something, but doesn't mean a lot. Another one I got from Wagner, so they still had them in stock, thankfully. Doubt they've sold many of these, unless they were a known trouble issue. Should just be a linear IC, so you don't really have to worry about static protection on these things. Nice and easy to put in. I think I already went over any other joints that look bad in this thing. You can always Probably spot a few more than 100% potentially. Okay, well, we do have sound back, but there is a slight issue with it. And I don't know why that crackles when I turn it on, but it does. It's all in high speed, and I forgot this deck actually stops the play button working because it's got a little lever in there to detect the tape in. Otherwise the stop won't go. And this is a dual motor deck, so it's not just the one motor running fast, it's the two. It does have a switch down here for high speed dubbing, but at least we've got audio back, so that BA chip, wherever I put it, is dead. But we've got the next problem is I'm stuck in high speed dubbing. There had to be something else, and that's after just trying to fix those other two Hitachis, which had all sorts of problem trying to get them into high speed dubbing, whereas this one has no problem getting into it, even during normal play and everything else. Now, I don't think it's anything to do with the record play switch. Let's just make sure that that does actually operate. Oh, we've got to press that in as well, so we've got two levers to press on this mech. That doesn't sound too good. It doesn't seem to be pressing the record play thing. Okay, I've armed myself with a circuit. We've got a rec mode select switch. A little hard to find when it's labelled like that, but it's high and normal speed. And it basically, well, it depends which mode you're in. It goes to this record play switch, which puts a B+ voltage in there. In normal mode, in record, in play mode, it just puts that B+ onto the line. High mode doesn't actually connect to anything, so we're disconnecting something. Comes down here, we've got this switching transistor Q652. Looks like it's got test point 4 across it. And that's a NPN. When that's high, I think that was ground. Yeah, that should be the ground line. It switches to ground, it pulls two diodes to ground, which pull two PNP transistors to ground. And again, we've got, well, these have actually got two trim pots. Must be all those ones on that bottom board that are pretty corroded. And two resistors joined to them, and it switches, either lets the two motor pins, high and low. Oh, that one's a bit different because that goes, I think they stuffed a circuit up on that one actually. That's what I came to the conclusion of. Where are we? High and low. They either have, yeah, one resistor and trim pot between them, or the transistor shorts that out. In fact, doesn't actually short it out, but puts in parallel another resistor and trim pot. So it's a little different to the other ones. The other two Hitachis I looked at, they just had one trim pot. I think they had a 3.9K fixed resistor and a trim pot via another resistor, and the transistor would switch those other ones across the 3.9K, so it's kind of a similar thing. Yeah, this motor here, they show the high speed line going via the motor power switch to positive, which is just silly, and the positive goes to the trim pot. So I'm pretty sure that's wrong. It should have the positive being switched by the motor switch, and just the high and low, the same as the other motor, going to the two trim pots, the same switching transistors as two motors, two switching transistors, two pairs of pots. So two sort of mirror circuits, but this one transistor shorts the two diodes to ground when it gets a high on it. And it gets a high on it in play mode. In play mode, it just doesn't care. And in record mode, in normal speed it gets one, but in high speed it doesn't get a voltage. Now, what's the other interesting thing? Oh, that's right, these have a play fast forward, or not play, sorry, fast forward rewind switch next to the play switch. So this is quite an interesting circuit, because those other Hitachis, the 30 and 35, when you put it in high speed dubbing and fast forward and rewind, it was actually going faster in those modes. But if you look where this switch goes, it actually, yeah, puts another voltage or the B plus, which I think goes the same to the play switch. Is it the same line? No, it's not quite the same line. But either way, it puts a voltage. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's joined. They're joined together there. It puts a voltage through a diode into the base of that transistor, so it obviously slows it down in this machine to fast forward and rewind, at least when they're operated on one deck. Assume that is for just one deck. Looks like it's tape 1. Yeah, so that's all they've got on, just a motor on tape 2. That's got these other switches. So at least on one deck, when you go in high-speed dubbing mode, that should slow it down. I wonder if that's even something we can use to test this, because I had some trouble getting the record playback switch in this. Does not really want to work via the deck, because I think it's all a bit seized up from battery acid and stuff. And I did get this into, when it's in normal mode it goes fast, and when you put it in high speed dubbing it goes even faster, which is kind of weird. Because looking at this circuit, I'm not sure how it does that, unless there's something wrong with both sets of motor trim pots or something. But we've got to have a look at these transistors and see if we can work out what's going on. So I think I'll have to half disassemble this thing again. So they've got these trim pots over here. It must be the ones. RT 653, 654, 51, etc. Where have they gone? RT 6, yeah, 51 to 34. So at least we can get access to the record playback switch easy enough here. Now I wonder if I ever clean that, because that could certainly be faulty itself, I guess. So I don't think that again would be causing this issue, but let's clean it anyway, because this thing is in terrible condition. It's got a rusted spring in it. And because I can't get the record play switch to work, I don't know if it's switching the oscillator there and stuff. Yeah, plenty of stuff got through there. Now one of these transistors, I reckon, well, they're the switching transistors most likely. They're 2 PMP, so one of these others must feed that. We've got Q653, 654 and 652, and 652 is the one we really want. 652 I think is that one. 654, 653, well the other two weren't they? 653, 54, yeah, and 52 is the one feeding into it. Certainly the board's seen better days down there. I mean, it could be these trim pots actually are faulty, more than one of them. Looking at them, I wonder if they do anything, to be honest, but maybe I should start by checking them. But the other option is we'll just find out what this base voltage on this transistor is doing. The only other thing I can think of is there's some sort of weird problem with that voltage where it's not actually the voltage it should be or something. Because it's like the switch is operating and it changes the speed modes, but from wrong to even worse is kind of weird. Let's put an earth on the RCA socket. I don't know how well that's going to work. Can we get... Okay, so that's running. Do we have a voltage there? We have zilch. Interesting. Oh, wait, the base is on the end of these, I think, not in the middle. I keep thinking of Euro transistors. I don't think that has got a voltage on it. But am I getting an earth? Those sockets are absolutely shot. That might be earthed. Yeah, this is showing 0 voltage. So, oh, there it is, 0.7. So we've got 0.7. We've still got 0.7. Oh, that makes sense. Unless we're going to record playback and then it speeds up. So okay, so that transistor is switching. We better make sure it goes to ground. Do any of those go higher when we press that? Nope. And so we don't have the transistors actually switching. Let's get on to these other. I don't think we're going to get a voltage on these, are we? Oh yeah, there we go, 5 volts. Stays pretty constant. Given there's a voltage coming in on the other 2 pins, I guess it could have. Let's get to the thing. We've got 5 volts there. I wouldn't have thought this motor should have 5 volts on it, but look up in high speed dubbing, and then it goes up to 7 volts. It's got a 5.6k, yeah, then this diode, this particular one is Q53. That one, so it goes through D662 or 652? 50, I guess, because everything's 50s. I think that's 652 there. It goes up to 7, it's down to 0.6, so that would suggest the other end of it's shorted out. But then it goes up to 5 volts. Oh yeah, because we're in dubbing mode, that's why. So it doesn't fully pull that down to ground, which of course with the 5.6k it probably wouldn't, but so that transistor must be switched. Let's go to the other side of the diode, because when we come out of that, go into that mode, it just allows it to fully rise. So why is it running fast? But like I say, maybe these pots are, I don't think we've got a switching issue. I think our pots are shot or something. It's got to be these potential. I mean, they're the most likely thing to be shot anyway out of that whole lot. I'm guessing they're not setting the. What have we got? It's a bit random. 3K, 2.4K. Well, that's not even connected to anything there. So they're just using one side of the pot wiper to. Yeah, that. I was getting this before though. That's 11K. Measures open circuit. Then you start measuring it. 1.4K. And 100k. Well, that's, I don't know, yeah, 84k. So they are pretty random. I don't know what they're meant to be. It doesn't tell you on the circuit. That's nice of you. I hope they've got something stamped on them. Looks like they're 5k, 502 written on them. So we should get 5k across those 2 pins there, I think. Yeah, 4.5k. 4.8k. Where's the other 2? That's there, 5k, so one's measuring correct. 5.3k. So it's got 3k across it, which is about right. You would think if it's set, that's got 87k. So maybe we do have 2 shot pots. 1.4k seems reasonable. And 11k. Well, that's impossible for a 5k to measure 11k. So I might be right, maybe there's 2 shot pots. Okay, so replace the 2 worst ones, which is the only ones I've really got identical pots for, and we're back to normal on this deck by the look of it. So there you go. the actual scenario I came up with was it was likely that both circuits had a faulty part in them, probably the trim pots. And it looks like that is actually the case. Can I get this one to run? Oh, we've got to press that in, haven't we? Oh yeah, let's see if that one's now running at close to normal speed. Yep, there you go, 2 shot pots. So I found what you can actually probably do is put a 10K or something in there, because it's only using 2 of the pins. It just means you've got only half the range basically. But I might even leave them for now, and I probably should get some more of these pots. So that's all it was. But that's what I thought looking at this circuit, that chances are the only way the dubbing could work, and they're both fast, is if one of these pots was high or doing something weird, and then both of those were high. One was some ridiculous amount, the other was what, 18K or something. So this is the sort of problem you get with corroded batteries and stuff. So I think we'll call that good enough for now. But I'll see if I can get some of those these little blue and white pots, which are quite common. I bought a set of them from somewhere once, I think. Fit straight in there, so that's something, because a lot of the other ones are too big. I think you can still buy them easily enough. You might even be able to get a kit off eBay or something, so I might even do that. Probably time I had a decent range of the things. So the other problem, main problem now, is to get this record lever to work, because it does not want to operate. Oh, that came in that time. So was it just not sitting right? Ah, interesting. Yeah, well that might be as simple as that. So that seems to work, but I could not get it. What would happen when I put it in the record mode? Something would jam on the deck, I think, because it looked like it didn't have enough movement. Yet it runs perfectly fine. At the moment, yes, it's in the way. You can't put the speaker terminal through with that there, and then it hits a couple of trim pots, I think. We're going to try and get, of course I couldn't see anything with the radio board in there, so we'll do it without that. I've got 2 slots to get this main board into, and I think we're caught on the record lever again, I think. Ah, just an awful design, really. I think you almost need to take the tape decks out, slide this in. Now, I had real trouble getting this board in last time as well. It just doesn't want to go in. Get that in the slots, try and get the record switch over the trim pots. You kind of got to lift it forward, and then drop it in the right place. And the board just does not want to go in. Ah, there we go. It's the tightest fitting board. And I've got a speaker wire in the way now as well. Yes, we bloody do. You've got to jiggle the speaker terminals through. That seems fine. Why would it? I don't know why it wouldn't work before, but let's try it again. Press that in, that in. Yeah, the tape deck stops. And jams, that's right, the head pinch roll will come up and jams there. Yeah, that's hard pressed against it, I think. Does this board need to come? Oh, I better be careful what I'm touching here. Is that 240 volts on that switch? Ah, it just clicked in. Yeah, it's like the tape deck can't move. Works fine. But I bet I ain't pressing the switch in. Yeah, can't quite make it. Move forward, it makes it. So we've got an issue with that set of record levers and stuff. Get the board when it's fully in, so we're miles in. The RCA sockets aren't even sticking out the back. Oop, my equaliser just fell off. because I did have a bit of trouble with this. It doesn't really clip in very well. It'd be a real pain if I got this far and I can't get the thing to record. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can really get this thing back together. And the deck moves around. But yeah, I just can't seem to get that record lever to work again. Doesn't help that the deck does that. No, it just comes up and jams. If you lift the tape up enough, it undoes and the deck goes into record mode, but of course not on the switch. The record lever mount is broken, which is part of the main case. I think I'm missing half the slider pot knobs. It's in generally very poor condition, this thing, but I did buy this knowing it was not great, purely to get those couple of mechanisms. Well, it's certainly a pretty loud box, and reasonably well featured when it actually works, with auto reverse, dual tape deck, but unfortunately this one is a bit beyond it. So I'm not going to be able to get that record to work properly. That lever's possibly, if I took all the radio board and everything out again, you could actually put a little screw up there, drill a little hole, put a screw up and hold it in a bit better. That might fix it. It's got this broken band switch anyway. Missing 1, 2, 3, 4 knobs off it. Generally in poor condition, rusty speaker grills. Doesn't look too bad as a display piece. But anyway, that's another one sort of resurrected. I only really bought it for those 2 Tanashin mechanisms, just to see what they're like. So you got the weird double idler one, you got the lift up like a soft touch. So they tried all sorts of different designs with their mechanisms. But it looks like those later Hitachis, they got away from these mechanisms and gone for the 21 and 51 or 510 or whatever it was. So I just wonder if these are an earlier mech, that maybe they abandoned them going into their later ones. They certainly seem to be quite rare, these ones. But I was lucky in a way to get them at all, even if it was in a rather poor quality box, so I'm not going to complain too much. I don't think I paid too much for this thing. But it certainly wasted a bit of time trying to get it going. Anyway, thanks for watching.